It's time for AggroChat, the official podcast of the Tales of the Aggronaut blog and stalwart gaming community, where we talk about stuff and things, and the stuff about the things, and sometimes gaming. I'm Belghast, and let's start the show.
Hey folks, it's that time again. Time for another episode of AggroChat. This is episode 524. Tonight I'm joined by Ammo.
Hello.
Ashgar.
Hello.
Kodra.
Hello.
Tam.
Hello.
And Thalen.
Hello there.
So, Thalen, what is this here space opera topic about?
So, last week, while I wasn't here, you and Grace talked about Eurovision.
Yes!
How awesome Eurovision is. And that reminded me of a wonderful book that I read, it and its sequel, not too long ago, that I think you and Grace might particularly enjoy.
I have not
maybe
read the
others as well.
sequel. I have read the original.
Yes, it's by Catherynne Valente, who, gosh, like almost 2 decades ago now, wrote The Girl Who Circumnavigated Fairyland in a Ship of Her Own Making. But she experienced Eurovision, and then she wrote a book about what if the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, but Eurovision.
Yeah, it's delightful.
And so, yeah, and basically humanity wakes up to discover that aliens exist, and the aliens are here, and the friendly alien who looks somewhat but not entirely like the Roadrunner from Looney Tunes tells them that, so you know, welcome to the galaxy, the universe, but we need to make sure you're sentient, because we had so many wars over the centuries, and we've gotten everything, you know, kind of working. But so we want you to prove you're sentient. If you're sentient, great. If not, we're going to eradicate your species and let the planet try again. And the way you prove you're sentient is you compete in a singing contest. You don't have to win, just don't place last. As long as you don't place last, you're good. And then goes on to recommend a number of, you know, acts that they're aware of that might do well. Turns out their information is kind of old, so everybody on their list has passed away except for the very last entry, which is Decibel Jones and the Absolute Zero, who are defunct. And Decibel Jones is very much a failed singer at the moment, but
And also was pretty much like an art band.
oh, yes. They were very weird. Decibel Jones is very much inspired by David Bowie in a lot of ways, unsurprisingly, given the, you know. But so Decibel Jones and the one other still living member of the Absolute Zero get recruited. And it goes from there. And there are time-traveling red pandas, alien red pandas, and weird zombie elephants infested by fireflies, and various other extremely strange aliens. And it's a lot of fun. And then the sequel, which came out last year, picks up the day after the contest and kind of deals with the repercussions of everything that happened and is titled Space Oddity. But yeah, highly recommend. Lots of fun.
Yeah, it was a great book. I don't remember if I read it last year or a year before last, but it was well worth the read. So the next topic is way less fun.
Oh.
So Marathon is basically cooked at this point.
Bungie keeps doing this.
If you have been living under a rock, Bungie did another plagiarism. This is like the 5th case of them doing a plagiarism.
I say this is the 3rd case I'm aware of.
Yeah, like there's been several of them. Up to this point, they've blamed it on contractors, like third-party contractors.
Yeah.
This was apparently now being blamed on someone who used to work at the company, but also like it's
becoming clear that this is not true.
Yeah.
It's blatantly clear.
It's not just like, okay, so the previous ones were they based
a single
something,
design. They based something on some fan art.
Right.
Without
Like,
attribution.
Yeah. And it is not the first time this happens, it is not unreasonable to believe that somebody screwed up and didn't realize that art didn't belong to Bungie or what have you. But
But
once it's happened a couple of times.
but in those cases, this like it was based on an image that they didn't own, but it wasn't just like copy paste of an image that they didn't own.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this is literally just downloading artwork from an artist and throwing it into a stencil.
Like some of the evidence that this very clearly happened is the fact that some time ago, the artist joked on social media about how they hid loss in their work and nobody noticed. And in fact, it is there in the plagiarized work in Marathon.
I mean, also their personal business logo.
Yeah, their
Yeah.
signatures in it.
There's like,
Yeah, like
it's so blatant. It's
Well, and like there was an attempt to, I guess, obfuscate the company name in one of the stencils. So like it was both blatant and obvious, but also looks like someone made a really bad attempt to cover it up.
yay, the worst of both worlds.
So Bungie has had to admit to this because there's no way that they can't. Then also, like a couple days later, was supposed to do like this broadcast, and for whatever reason, they went ahead with it. But also, they couldn't display any shots of the game because it's pretty much impossible to find a image of the game that doesn't include this stolen artwork. It's that prevalent.
I mean,
Yeah.
like
It appears they based their entire art style on this artist's work.
Yeah.
And rather than even just basing their art style on it, just took the images.
So some stuff that's come out after the fact is like obviously all sorts of Whisper Network folks from inside have talked about how bad the state of things at Bungie is and how frustrated everyone is that this is a game that they all said didn't really have a market. And the problem is going into this, they took what was an NDA test, made it public suddenly, hoping to get some hype around the game, and basically it cratered, and every streamer that was playing it effectively stopped playing it once they were no longer contracted to play it. And then something that came out yesterday is apparently all marketing material for this game has been canceled. All ad spend, all everything has been canceled. The game itself
What?
hasn't been canceled, but all
Wow.
ad spend has been canceled.
That's
Drastic.
Yeah.
that's a huge problem considering the other articles that I've seen.
I think Sony's going to push this out there.
Oy.
Because the
And I think they really would rather the leadership that's hoping to vest some shares don't get invested.
well, I mean, the thing that I was reading was stuff talking about how like there's been enough spend on Marathon's development that it needs to be a
Yeah,
smash hit.
like what is it? NDP or NPD? Yeah, NPD. That it
Mhm.
basically needs to be top 5 in titles for the year in order to call it a success.
Like, oof. I don't know that I necessarily trust that report, but I don't trust I don't distrust it in the concept, just in the degree. But still, like,
Mhm.
even if that's top 10
Still, yeah.
and you just pulled all the marketing,
It very much sounds like they're preparing to just, toss it out there and run.
I mean, Sony's probably going to write it off
Mm-hmm.
and also use this as an excuse to rein in Bungie and take it over.
/ shutter it.
I was about to say, I'm not sure. I feel like Shutter It is more likely.
Yeah.
I mean, they will probably at least hold on to a maintenance staff for Destiny because it is still making reoccurring money.
I hear the final shape was very good.
I've also heard this. They also have some pretty interesting plans for the future, so who knows? I mean,
But just it pains me to see this kind of thing because like the games industry is not in a good way right now.
Right, but this is such an own goal. You don't have to just take somebody's stuff to make your game.
Yeah, right. Like, yeah, like the industry is doing really badly. An own goal like this is the kind of thing you studiously avoid.
It does feel like maybe there are a lot of economies who are looking to figure out how they can enter a theft-based economy.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you can make your theft confusing enough that people won't think it's theft.
Turns out that just stealing is not complicated enough.
It does turn out that just stealing stuff is something people can understand and get upset about.
Yeah, you've got to call it something else and bribe a bunch of people.
Training. Call it training.
yeah, it's just a wild ride. Like the problem is going into Marathon, I questioned that it had a market, and
It's like making a MOBA
see,
5 years,
so
5 or
here's
10
the
years
problem.
ago.
Like, I made a comment that the extraction shooter market was extremely saturated, and someone jumped up down my throat about that comment, and like, oh, there's only Tarkov. I'm like,
What?
well, okay,
No.
so you have to understand, as a result of my blog and the podcast and other things, I'm on a bajillion D like press release mailings for games. And I swear there does not go a day that I do not have emails for 2 new extraction shooters.
Well, yeah, because you're an influencer, and they're hoping you'll use your influence
Yep.
to help
And
them.
like maybe there's not a lot right now, but oh my god, they coming. All the extraction shooters are coming.
All right, so that genre is about to be defunct. Noted.
Yeah. Like,
I mean, it was defunct before people started spinning up all these clones.
Is Tarkov making a ton of money?
No,
Not
it's
really.
a
That's
super
why they
niche market.
did all the things they did about a year ago.
yeah. Tarkov is
Tarkov is a hyper insular community.
It does not have significant recurring spend, as far as I'm aware, and it does not have a growing community.
Tarkov was made on a very, very carefully constrained budget for a very, very niche audience and saw outsized success among their niche audience and actually broke a little bit out of it. But it's one of those questions of scale things that's just like admittedly totally opaque from the player side. Like it's always funny to me to see people to see like, posters who will say things like, why doesn't for example, Guild Wars 2 have these features that World of Warcraft does, not realizing that there's like at least one, if not 2 orders of magnitude difference in team size between those 2 games. And like Tarkov is another example of like, that's made with a really small team on a really tight budget. There isn't a big budget Tarkov waiting in the wings because you just can't sustain that.
Well, and the thing is like there's all this information that's come out from inside where basically everyone working on the project said they needed to have a significant PvE mode, but the higher ups wanted it only to be a PvP game. And like even that, I just question that there's enough of an audience there.
I mean, if you make a purely PvP game, you're competing with every other PvP game out there.
Yes, you're competing with Call of Duty. And
Call of Duty actually has a significant PvE mode.
Yeah, if you have
like a really significant PvE mode. Like we really need to mention Call of Duty Zombies is a large part of why Call of Duty is continuing to make money.
Mm-hmm.
And Call of Duty's campaigns have been really good. Like you obviously have to be into military shooter storytelling, but if you are, like they've done a lot of really good stuff with it.
I was about to say, does Sea of Thieves count as an extraction shooter?
I'm not sure it passes the shooter part of that.
I mean, there's canon.
It is extraction game though.
It might
It's
as well
very,
be. Like,
it's very close.
I feel like I understand. Like that game is fairly popular and definitely not for me.
Well, and I don't know. Like, there's
the game
like
is way
this
more
whole,
interesting on its PvE mode, by the way.
There's this
Yeah,
whole
well.
weird thing with using Marathon as the license, because like people who remember Marathon probably want it to be a PvE story-based shooter. People who played a lot of Destiny probably want it to be a looter shooter. People who are into extraction shooters, it's probably not hardcore enough for them.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, it feels like a strategic miss. Admittedly, the art style they stole is very cool.
Yeah,
true.
That artist does
that's-
great work.
But that's the problem. That was the one thing everyone said was like, yeah, I'm not that interested in this game, but the art style's really cool. And that's not their art style.
They stole it, actually. Yeah. Ah,
It's just
that's super frustrating.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, this is probably the death of Bungie.
Whoop.
Yep.
Because I do not see how they can turn this around without significantly reworking that game.
Yeah.
And I do not think Papa Sony will give them money to significantly rework that game.
No, I mean everybody can look at New World
I think people are more likely to be looking at Concord.
or Concord.
It does. It does seem interesting because like the goal does seem to be figure out how to make the next forever game for all of these major studios. And if you're not going to be the next WoW, you're going to get canned, which does seem completely unsustainable.
Mhm.
Well, if a game doesn't make all the money, then it's a failure.
Yeah. Some money is.
That's a problem beyond games right now.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, something, everything has been turned into an investment vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we shouldn't have billionaires in a culture?
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. Anyways,
Possibly.
I really appreciate that Loading Ready Run seems to take every earnings season as an opportunity to let Cam write stories that are very humorous rants about the unsustainability of the current industry.
Which are a microcosm of unsustainability of every industry.
If you do have fuck you money, put it into something like Claire Obscure. Like, yeah, it's some multimillionaire who built a small team and paid a jillion contractors to make something completely nuts, and it's great. Like, make art.
Well, and I guess that's the real shame of this situation, because if you look at Doom, right? Doom has released 3 banger modern incarnations and have seemingly done really well. I mean, had they created a tight, story-driven game like Marathon originally was, like, I think there would have been an audience for it, but it wouldn't have made all the money.
It might have made all the money.
It might have
wasn't
made a
gonna
large amount of money.
It just wasn't going to make all the money forever.
Yes.
And that doesn't happen anymore. It's not 2004.
Yeah, now you have to compete with the games that came out in 2004 and 2012 and so on and so forth.
Right. Sometime in the future, I can hopefully talk about my theory on this. Or maybe I'm wrong and I won't. We'll see.
Okay, Tam, I'm curious what you want to talk about related to Star Citizen, given the amount of negative press it's gotten recently.
Oh my god. Boy, are they playing with fire.
Yes, they are.
So, Star Citizen has 2 major events in the year. There's the International Space Exposition. I forget exactly the thing. IAE, which is their November timeline. All ships. We're gonna release new ships. We're gonna usually have a big patch right around here. And then their other big patch, usually building up to their big patch, is Invictus Launch Week, which is their mostly military ships. And for a really long time, what they've or at least for the last few years, what they've been doing is using it as a way to preview their really big capital ships and show people like, hey, we are working on the giant ships that people paid giant amounts of money for and don't have anything to show for it yet.
That is a bit of a thing all by itself.
This year, they released one of the second biggest ship in the game is now in the game, fully functional. Honestly, quite awesome if you can get all of the people together to do it. It came with a brand new weapon type that hasn't existed before in beam weapons. It's the thing that people have been saying that it's been like the poster child for this game is never going to actually release because this ship is never going to be in the game. And like now it's actually in the game. It's a real thing. You can fly it. And this should have been pure win, but they had to screw it up because the other thing that they added was performance tuning, which is they basically have a system where it's like you can put a different computer, like a different processor in your ship's nav system and thruster control system to tweak its flight performance, which cool concept, helps you get your ships more to do the kinds of things you want to. They are selling them on the store first, which went over about as well as you might expect. So badly, in fact, that I believe they have gone back and said they are going to put them in game as soon as possible for purchase with credits.
That does feel like, so at this point, it feels like that should be step one.
You'd think so. Yeah, like
also selling like missiles and stuff.
Yeah, the other thing is they're selling weapon kits for ships that are like, put a different weapon on your ship, which again, like that's not actually new, but they're not available in game, which is the problem. And like they've actually been very good about and have increased the speed at which between the time where something is released for money and released in game. But like flight tuning, come on, weapon replacements, no, try again. It was exacerbated a second time by the fact that the flight blades don't actually do very much. Like it's a really, really, really tiny change in ship performance to a like, why would I even bother even buying this in game with credits? Kind of, what is this even for? So it's been a mixed bag. They're also pumping out content for the game, which is like the big thing it's been missing. Like this event came with 3 major quest lines that are just like they went live for the event and they're proving out like, hey, here's some story content. It's like, here's some fully voice acted story content that you can do. And it's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, like this all sounds like this would have been an amazing release had they not done the cell phone.
If they hadn't hit the own goal here, this would have been an unbelievable slam dunk of an event. But they dug too greedily and too deep. This is the first, and like there's so many little other things that would have just like snowballed how good this could have been. Because the other thing they didn't do is release. This is the first event. I think this might be the first time ever that they have not released a new concept ship at a major event. And like releasing new concept ships is kind of the thing annoying a big part of the community right now, because they're like, please stop making new concepts, make the ships that you've concepted. You've got a huge backlog. And this was like delivery of multiple major backlog things. And the new things that they did release were like not concepts. It was just like, hey, you want to fly it? You can fly it today. But yeah, it is interesting watching that unfold. And especially the other piece that they've done recently is increase the they're creating more of a bifurcation between PvE and PvP, but it hasn't gone all the way yet, and it's going to be very interesting to see where they come out here, because they've got a ton more players. There are lots of people playing the game now, and that means that there's a lot more intersections of players. And
so the thing I predicted would happen is starting to happen now that they have more players.
And yeah, it's going to be real interesting. Like, can they figure that out before it's too late? Before they get before it becomes a trammel situation.
I also feel like we're going through a current state of the world is shortening everyone's patience with everything.
Yeah,
So
like
I feel like there's not a lot of do-overs that are going to be given on various situations.
no. Well, and the thing is like, so there's a statistic that I love from old MMO, from years back, that was like, if a player logs out within 10 minutes of having a negative experience with another player, it's like 60 to 70% chance they never log in again. That's a hard hill to climb if you are insistent on enabling players to create negative experiences for other players.
Well, I mean, my original experience with Arcage was there's a segment in the original story where you have to cross this bay with a rowboat, and griefers were just lined up there to sink players when they tried to cross with a rowboat.
Mm-hmm.
I made it across, but I think I logged out almost immediately after that and decided, nope, I am done with this.
Yep.
And it was a really long time until I came back. And I think it was only when some folks here started playing with it that I gave it another go.
And like, some games say, yep, and we don't want those players. It's what Tarkov says.
What Sea of Thieves apparently says.
Well, that's what Sea of Thieves used to say. And then they were like, oh God, we're hemorrhaging players. Like, yeah, you're going to have a really tiny population.
I mean, Sea of Thieves still refuses to consider PvE players as actual players. So I don't really consider them having changed their mind.
No, they're trying to they're trying to have their cake and eat it too, and failing. But yeah, there's that contingent of, I was like, it's one thing for like players to be like, oh, I only want the hardcore PvP because I'm so badass and blah 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 blah, and like, who have no idea about the market or anything about running a game or funding it or whatever. That's one thing.
But do those, like, how many players of that are there?
Not
Not
many.
many.
Because I
And
actually
a lot of-
like. I mean, this is relevant to me because we were talking about this. What those players want is an endless stream of other players that they can dunk on.
Yes.
Yes.
They want to win 90% of their matches. I am still in my journey of playing chess. I am quote unquote bad at chess. Like, I have 400 elo. I've just broken 400 elo in Blitz. My win rate is like, I'm gonna say I've played 800 games and I think I'm like +5 wins over my losses. You should expect to win about as many games as you lose.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
If that's not what you enjoy about a competitive game, you don't enjoy competitive games or hardcore
Right.
PvP.
Yeah.
Like in any game, if you are evenly matched, you should expect to win like one out of the number of sides.
But that's not what people want.
People need to understand that.
People want to make for unfun play experiences.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And
They want to win all the time, but they don't want to win against the computer, because that doesn't count. That's not real.
I mean, I think they want to make someone else's life miserable.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
But like,
or at best, they just don't think about the other person at all.
I think there is that. I will say there are the people who are grieving, people who say they want that. But there are also people who I think long for a era where, like, you existed in these servers and they were dangerous because people could be awful, but like, there were rules that were established through the community and attempted to be enforced. And this worked when, like, servers were much smaller. And like, if somebody is being terrible, like, a GM will just ban them.
That was all mythology.
That was all mythology.
That was ever
Even
real.
even when things were small. There's an article by Julian Dibble A Rape in Cyberspace.
Yep.
Like,
Oof.
go read that. Even when the group is very small, like nothing. Yeah,
No, like it's this sort of like chasing of mythology that has never existed, and it's exacerbated by some of the like elder online game devs who firmly believe that if they can just get it right, everyone will love it.
yeah.
I was about to say, I can only talk about when I started playing WoW, and there was some amount of community rules, and there was so much drama, and that was a big part of it. But like,
Well, South Shore v Terran Mill is a thing that will never happen again. It was a
But
weird
it
glitch
was
in the
terrible.
system, but people loved it.
Why?
I mean,
It's the same reason why I love like World versus World when like nothing really actually matters during the evening. Like I like the act of just doing the thing.
yeah, I think it was the best you could get. Like,
The best PvP in World of Warcraft was the 48-hour completely intractable Alterac valleys.
Wow.
before people decided that the way to play Alterac Valley was to just try and get to the other side as fast as possible
Well, they
ignore defense entirely.
They changed it. That's the thing, is like, I'm pretty sure they changed the structure of Alterac Valley. Like, it used to be like you fought to get into AV because it wasn't like the queue, like there was one AV running on a server at any time and you could only have 40 people in it.
Mm-hmm.
So people would just play it for hours. And you know what? It was grueling trench warfare. And was that a good competitive game? No. Was it an interesting experience that people kind of were able to encounter? Yes, it was. But like, I don't know.
I mean, if you want that, one of the best games for it right now is probably Guild Wars 2.
I absolutely agree. Like Guild Wars 2 and I think ESO probably have really good versions of that experience.
Yeah, because they just have this continuous battleground area that is active all the time.
Yep. Because it just goes, and even if your side just loses and loses and loses, you're still getting something for participating.
Right. Like the act that I'm doing the thing gives me prizes and it makes me happy.
Like,
but
you do better if you succeed, but
you also know in all of those things, the best way for your team to succeed is if they have a leader who is guiding and people are listening to the leader.
Yes.
Like it is a mass team battle.
Yes, and they do this by demanding that you join their Discord.
That's a problem.
Yes, it is.
That started to be annoying, but yes.
But I mean, like I definitely remember the drama we had in PvE when people would try and like wield dominion over loot and stuff like that, or ninja looting, and you know, the classic.
Yeah, I mean the flip side to that was if you weren't in, you were in the cold.
Oh, you were so in the cold. And I was in the cold for a while until until I got hooked up with like Tam and all of the stealth rogues. Like there was a while where I was like, I think I'm done with World of Warcraft because there's like not really anything I can do. I'm a rogue trying to get into pickup groups.
Yeah.
You had to buddy up with a healer or a tank to get that to happen.
My spicy hot take, and this is just like, I mean, this might just be like game design hubris. I think it is not impossible to make a system where you could have something not open PvP, but akin to the concept that would actually have mass appeal. And the only way to do that, the only way is you have to say it needs, you have to have an absolute bedrock core tenet that you need to figure out how to make it feel good to get ganked. And if you can solve that impossible fucking problem, you could make a game where that works. That is the solution you need to find. And boy, that's a big ask. But if you could pull it off, you might have something there. Nobody is thinking about that.
I still think that one of the things that I do think is interesting is the ever-present danger of the world you exist in. I'm actually, I know we're going to talk about it later. I'm really curious how it feels to play Dune when, hey, maybe you just get eaten. But, the zone I will always think about is the zone with the Fell Reaver in Burning Crusade, where, if you are not careful, you will just die. And, that zone is memorable, and I feel like part of the thing people think is interesting about open PvP is doing anything conveys danger, and in a lot of games the danger is obfuscated out at this point.
I think the thing is zone sweepers work because one, they are extremely sparingly used, and two, they're not near as dangerous as you feel they're dangerous.
Yes.
Because I'm thinking about the sand giants in Oasis of Mar in EverQuest. They were the same thing as the Fell Reavers, and eventually you came back and hunted them at high levels. And so there was this beautiful synergy between low-level players and a bunch of high-level players that were effectively keeping it safe for the low-level players to be in the zone.
Yeah.
And that was cool. And the Fell Reaver, it was a fun moment when you could go back and kill one of them.
Yeah.
Well, and part of that, I think, is also you can do something really cool where your world feels dangerous and not like you're just hitting punching bags and getting loot. But that danger should bring players together, not tear them apart.
Yes.
And that's where the Sand Giant works. That's where Kithakor Forest works. Open PvP is the cheap way to do that, but it's the unhealthy way to do that because it makes all of your players hate all of your other players. And you really, really don't want that in your community.
Not that Guild Wars 2 has solved this problem, but you want the community that exists in that game where you can be in a zone, and if there's any amount of actual players there and someone shouts to zone asking for help, more than likely folks are going to show up and help.
I mean, it's a game where other people being around is only ever a good thing.
Yep.
Also, we talk about FF14 being good at bribery, Guild Wars is also pretty good at bribery.
Yes, it is. Most of the time when you call out for help with a thing, somebody is working on some achievement that
some legendary, some zone achievement, somebody needs to just do events.
Or even if it's just a champion, that's a loot pinata.
Loot.
Sure. Yeah. Somebody doing bounties, shouting into the zone, wanting help.
I just did that earlier today.
Bounties are fun.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm forever impressed with the realization in that game in creating achievements that this is a great way to make people go back and re-engage with previous content, and it works great.
I think this is a side topic, but one of the reasons why I keep finding myself coming back to Guild Wars 2 is that it has a lot of what I would refer to as default activities. Whereas I don't know what I want to do, but here's a list of things that I have consistently enjoyed. So which one of these is up now? Let's go do that thing.
Yeah, there's so many things you can be doing at any given time. You can have multiple goals with multiple levels of effort necessary to engage with. There's always something to do.
Well, I did this Dragon Stand earlier just because I happened to be surveying the map and it was about to pop. And it was fun. It's probably been a year since I've done a Dragon Stand.
Man, Dragon Stand is great.
It was a blast. I mean, I happened to, there was a certain serendipity with it where, like apparently there's one of the lanes that I had never done, and that was the lane that didn't have enough people, so I just
Perfect.
transitioned over that lane, not realizing I needed it, and I picked up the rest of my mastery points.
Nice.
The Dragon Stand also doesn't like Dragon Stand is you never stop needing it. Like it produces a bunch of things that you need a bunch of to do a variety of different achievements in this game.
But I'll be honest, like most of the zone metas are that way. There's at least something I can get off of them that makes it worth doing. I mean, I did Drakkar randomly just because I happened to be farming whatever Eternal Ice or and it was about to fire and someone was in the zone shouting for more and I joined in and it was a super smooth run. And then I realized, oh, I've leveled up those mastery tracks and I can now open all 3 chests at the end of Drakkar. This suddenly became a much more lucrative outing.
That's a really good feeling.
Well, and nowadays, all that stuff, even if you don't need the particular thing from that zone meta at this moment, you can take it to the Wizard's Tower and trade it for the thing you need.
Right. There's so many conversions back between, and like I bought the Jade Sliver thing, not realizing how many I had, and like basically I can just make other currencies out of Jade Slivers.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Tab's right with the whole I think the answer to making PvP feel fun is it has to be fun to lose, and the time between loss and reset has to be very short, because like that's the thing that I like about the fights in Guild Wars 2 specifically is when you die, there's a very quick way to get back into the action. Yeah. Like inevitably you are going to die. It is just a thing, but you can also zoom right back into doing stuff again.
There's a huge difference between structured and unstructured PvP.
That was actually going to be my other thought. Like Guild Wars and actually FF14 also have the other PvP modes that are not the big giant battlegrounds. They're so fast.
Yeah, they are.
Like I don't like doing them in really either game, but they are definitely fast.
Honestly, the PvP that I've enjoyed the most in Guild Wars 2 is the holiday PvP.
It's just a little silly, but yeah.
The New Year's one and the winter one are both actually remarkably entertaining.
Which is the Get the Crab one?
Oh, that's the keg brawl. Is that the one that you're thinking of?
There's one where you're like on a desert island with a bunch of other people, and you're like in an arena, and you have to like, I don't remember. There's two, like you can just beat the crap out of each other, but also there's an objective that you're trying to do where you're like supposed to capture something.
I think you're thinking of the keg brawl.
Maybe.
Because you're supposed to if you grab the keg, you get points for that, and you're trying to like keep hold of it, and then also everybody's beating on each other, and
I find it terribly entertaining.
I guess you also get into looser definitions of PvP. There's stuff like the races.
I thought you were going to say auction house.
That too, but I wasn't going to say that one.
Oh, man.
but the auction house is like, I feel like there's
that is
not
PvP
a lot
for the hardest of core.
It is, but also
some games.
There's so many. I don't know. Like there's so many games where the market is pretty fixed at this point.
I see you have not experimented with FF14's auction market board.
I feel like that's a race to the bottom.
It can be, but the trick is finding the things that aren't.
Yeah, when they're not, they're ridiculous.
I mean, truthfully, the two games that I have done the most trading in is Guild Wars 2 and Path of Exile, and both of them have similar markets.
I feel like Guild Wars 2 has the most frictionless market ever, and Path of Exile has the most absurdly friction-filled market. Yes. So I will say there's some differences.
So what I mean by that is, in both cases, there's pretty tight parameters on pricing. I mean, you can technically list anything in Path of Exile for any amount of money or currency, but there are very clear lines of what something is supposed to go for. I would kill to have the Guild Wars 2 market system in Path of Exile, though.
I mean, there's the currency exchange now.
which only covers certain things.
It's true.
You still can't buy gear from it. So, other interesting news from this week, SteamOS is now available for non-Steam Deck devices, officially.
I missed this news. That's impressive.
Yeah, it is. It is
So-
mostly targeting handheld
Assume
devices.
other things like the Asus device, things like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, but what are you installing SteamOS on? But no,
I mean,
okay, I can.
I am going to install it on this laptop I have sitting around not doing anything else.
Like, that's eventually the plan, is SteamOS is just another distribution of operating
Interesting.
system. But like initially they are targeting all of the other handheld Windows-esque devices.
But for example, if I wanted to, I mean, SteamOS, I mean, could allow for like taking a computer and turning it into like a console type thing.
Yes, that is the idea. Like, it probably won't work right now because it doesn't have a wide amount of driver support. It's mostly
Yeah, exactly.
designed to support those handheld devices, but that is the goal with it. And there's like a group other than Valve that is kind of steering the ship now.
I mean, to a certain extent, there is driver support because it's based on Arch Linux, and that still has support for a lot of things. But it would probably be best to call things other than other handhelds untested. Use at your own risk type things.
Like, you've been able to do a version of this for a while now, but essentially this is not requiring you to, install Bazite and, do custom work on what's getting distributed to the device. And
I am very excited about the prospect of eventually giving my child a Steambox PC
yes, that's
So
my
that
hope too.
so that she can play games but not have a browser.
Bad news there.
I mean, there is desktop mode on these devices, so you can still.
Well, but it's one of those things where like I assume that parental controls would let you disable that, for example, at some future point.
It would be nice.
Like, that seems like a super easy win.
And like Nintendo is very focused on parental controls. I do not know if Valve also is.
It's fair.
Yeah, I am very interested to see how this evolves over time.
Also, Valve may not care about their parental controls, but you know who does? The EU Digital Ministry.
EU.
I was going to say
Salvation.
parents with Steam Decks.
I mean, yes, also parents with Steam Decks, but they don't have regulatory authority.
It's true.
Okay, so Dune Awakening, you've played more of it.
Yeah, I had not when I was interested in it the last time I was here and was talking about it, and I actually spent the rest of the weekend playing it. I got about 10, 15 hours of play in. Man, Funcom does not always make games I want to play, but I respect the swings they take. Dune Awakening is a weird, and like I talked about the underlying story stuff, which I think threads the needle perfectly for, hey, this is actually accessible to a new player because nothing that happens in any book matters, so you don't need to know any of it. While also being like, hey, this is actually catnip for people who are really into the stories because the implications are crazy. But the actual game, it looks 10 years old. And not like, but not in a bad way. It's just like, yeah, this is not Clair Obscur. This is not cyberpunk. It's an open world sci-fi game where you're mostly in a desert. And it reminds me a lot of a really refined Valheim.
Okay.
Because the thing is that like you wake up and you're in you go through this tutorial and yada yada yada, your ship crashes. You have to figure out how to survive in the desert. And so the opening section of the game is how do you survive in the desert? And the crafting matters. And crafting is interesting because it's not just like a checklist. As you level up and do things, you get I think they're inspiration points. And those inspiration points you can spend to unlock crafting recipes in a tech tree. And that covers everything from weapons to utility equipment to armor to building structures. and and they go through like, okay, here are all the things you need to know about the desert. The first is water. Where do you get water from? There's a variety of sources to get water. There's various plants. You can go down this whole thing of like, hey, I'm going to grow plants that give me water in my shelter area. But you can also go down the route of, hey, you know where there's a bunch of water? Inside people.
Indeed.
Let's take that and reclaim it. Those guys were bandits anyway. But like, so there's this, you basically have your like hydration meter, and it's got a bunch of different tiers. I found it to be exactly enough pressure to feel right. And as you get better, as your undersuit basically gets better, and eventually you go from not having a still suit to having a still suit, which is a giant increase in your ability to stay hydrated in the desert. But like, you can still get better still suits as you go, which increase your just overall hydration efficiency, which means you can range further. And so there's this interesting loop there that actually makes crafting and that system feel useful and interesting. And there's also this kind of like managing the environment. The environment sucks. Like, it's brutal. I mean, it's like a terrible desert planet. It's supposed to be brutal. That's the whole point. There are 3 things that will kill you. Falling, fall damage will get you, and it will get you particularly because it has Breath of the Wild style climbing. So you can just climb basically any surface, and the more difficult the surface is, the more of your stamina it's going to burn, and if you run out of stamina, you will fall. But like motion, like getting around, it solves the MMO problem of how do I get on top of that stupid cliff with you just climb it, and that's actually really cool, especially in conjunction with the sun. You build up sunstroke as you are exposed to the sun, which means that you want to be in shadows. I have never seen a game that does a non-stealth game that cares about shadows, but this one does. You want to stay in shade because shade keeps you safe. And like, getting sunstroke isn't the end of the world, but it's not great. And it like, if you just ignore it, it will absolutely start burning through your hydration, as well as just harming your health and stamina and all of these other things. So you kind of like moving from shade to shade, and it means that I'm paying attention to the environment in a way that I almost never do in an MMO. And that's really neat. I was really enjoying just like moving through the desert is interesting just because, like, okay, moving at night is good as long as I don't go somewhere where it's really cold, but it's also dark. Moving during the day, I get way better visibility and I can see further, but like the sun, climbing up to get vantage points is a whole thing. And like, there's a tool that you can get that helps you map. It's very akin to Assassin's Creed style, climb up to the top of this tall building and look around and it fills in your map, except that you can do it anywhere. You just choose an arbitrary high point. The higher the point, the more map you fill, craft a like, sensor beacon and fire it into the air and use that to kind of see around you. Be careful that you don't get the attention of the flying Sardaukar ships. And then the other thing is the desert consists of these like rocky outcroppings separated by dunes. Walking across the dunes attracts sandworms. So you have a little thing that's what do the tremors feel like to you? And if that meter gets red, you are in a bad way. You need to be somewhere else as fast as you can. And like one of the first things that people get is like it's like a hover bike. And it was sort of a meme even in the beta that like people get a hover bike and they're just like, yeah, I go fast and I can go super fast across the dunes, and sandworms will absolutely eat you. They make that, like, they are loud and they will make that meter go nuts immediately. And And then the other part of it is they have this clever. So I was trying to figure out like how do you make this player housing thing? You can only have one settlement at a time, and if you don't have a settlement, you just abandon it. The desert degrades anything that doesn't have shields or that doesn't have the shield generator, which is like what you put when it's claimed. But as long as you keep that powered, then you can keep your settlement. But also you can just abandon your settlement and either somebody else can take it over or it'll degrade. And it's sort of neat building your little Valheim house and like relocating sometimes if you move forward in the story or if you need something else. Yeah, I'm interested in playing more of it, which was a surprise to me because I was expecting not to like it very much.
How painful is death?
Not
or more so, what is permanently lost on death, if anything?
Some of the stuff you were carrying, like materials, everything that I got to felt so fungible that if I lost anything the one time I died, I didn't notice. Because the game also has a downed state, and you can med pack yourself while in a downed state. And so, like, the couple of times where I did, like, get it over my head or, like, get downed, I slammed a med pack and went back to it. Like, I only actually died, like, once or twice the entire time.
Yeah, so I've done a little bit of research on how PvP works, and it seems like it's a totally different zone.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, that's what I understand, is that they're going to have basically PvP zone.
I've heard that there's like an end game zone that's like the deep open desert, kind of akin to what the Division did.
The Dark Zone or the thing Age of Sigmar. Age of Reckoning did.
Yeah, exactly. And in which case, if that's where the PvP is, like, I'm suddenly more excited about this game.
Yeah, so it sounds like basically all of the end game stuff, there will be a slower paced, grindier way to get it safely through PvE, or if you have a team and can risk going into PvP areas, you can acquire things much faster.
Yeah, I don't hate it. That sounds fine to me. That's honestly better than I expected. I actually thought it was an open PvP game, and I had just gotten lucky with the like couple of other player encounters that I ran into, but if that's not the case, then like...
Yeah, it, like, based on what I have read and from a couple different sources, it sounds like there is a specific PvP zone. And if you go into it, you are at risk. If you don't, then you are safe.
Cool. I'm much more interested in this game all of a sudden. I enjoyed, like, I legitimately enjoyed what I was playing, and it...
Which of the classes did you end up playing?
I mean, you know me.
I mean, I kind of assume you went Bene Gesserit?
Yes.
Okay,
oh,
yeah.
Right. Yeah, okay. Never mind.
I beelined straight for Bene Gesserit and didn't look back.
I did not think about that being a class.
I really want to see what the Swordmaster looks like, because, like, I'm kind of torn between Swordmaster and Trooper.
So the class that is actually something that I forgot to mention. The class that you pick, near as I can tell, is just the tree you start with.
Oh, okay.
Like, I unlocked Soldier. I found the Soldier trainer, and the Soldier trainer was like, yeah, I'll teach you Soldier stuff if you do this quest for me. And I was like, all right. I did the quest. It was like, yeah, you unlocked the Soldier tree now. And like, I didn't have time to like delve into how much they let me do with that. But yeah, I mean, I guess I should like also from a just like functional gameplay standpoint, like combat is fine. Like it's not gonna blow your mind, but it also like works for what you're doing. It feels like as I prepare to drop a reference that maybe one other person here will get, it feels like post NGE Swig, but like in a good way. It's an over the shoulder melee and shooting. Both are quite good, and I spent more time meleeing because it was more fun. I actually like their implementation of the slow knife. there's a like make a very slow melee attack, but it will pierce shields,
Yes.
and other things will not. And like that actually works and is cool. And the and then you have various abilities that you can. I think you can slot 3 of all of the whatever abilities you unlock. You can slot 3 of them, and that's your class tree as you work through it, is unlocking more of those abilities and adapting them. So like most of the Bene Gesserit ones are body control passives, where it's like you can just ignore pain, you can make your metabolism do stuff, or the voice, where I can be like, you get over here, and like an enemy has to walk towards me, they don't have a choice, or like I'm not here, and they're like, yeah, okay, I act until you actually hit me, I pretend like you don't exist. But there's other stuff, like the Swordmaster has like a dash, and the soldier has a couple, like a grenade, I think.
Yeah, they have like a hunter seeker weird football looking grenade thing.
Yeah. But yeah, there's like a surprising bunch of different abilities, and it asks you when you create a character if you want to have the tech tree on tutorial mode until the point in the story where it isn't, or if you would like the full tech tree unlocked from the start. And that question gave me anxiety. I was like, no, just tutorialize me. I think I would do the tutorial again, because it definitely teaches you the basics that you need. You could definitely progress faster down the tree if you were specializing right off the bat, but like you have to know that that you can spend your inspiration, that you can survive without your inspiration being spent in certain places. But I can totally see an alt that's like, look, you're just going to go to my base. This alt is just going to use my existing base and get water and everything from that. So they don't need to learn how to make their own still suit or harvest their own water. They'll just get it from there. And then they're just all into like weapon crafting or whatever. So I could see that.
I'm very clearly going to be trying out this game, and I'm very clearly going to be playing a Mentat.
Yeah, Mentat's definitely one of the options. It was cooler than I expected. Finding out that it's not just open PvP increases my anticipation for it a lot more. It's like,
oh yeah, no, that changed it from I'm tempted but maybe to I gotta try it.
Yeah, that actually probably takes me over into I'm gonna go ahead and pre-order it. But I did enjoy my time with the beta, and the story quests are interesting because they're definitely introducing Dune to you in a way that feels reasonable while also being incredibly Dune weird. Like one of the first major story quests is like, all right, you got to find your way into this like ancient temple and go trip balls and have like, it is time for visions. Go have visions. And it takes you into what I can only describe as a secret world style puzzle instance. And if that is indicative of the kind of content they want to make in this game, especially if that's the kind of group content they want to make in this game, then I'm going to be as into this as I was for the secret world up until the point where they punish me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Joel Bylos is leading this too, just like he did Secret World.
Right. I can definitely see his fingerprints all over it. Like I'm still a little skeptical, but like it has the potential to be really cool. Gotta like deserts though. That's like that's what you're doing.
Do not apply if you hate sand.
Yeah,
The thing that looked really cool is like real deserts have varied texture, and this looks like it understands that concept.
Yes, absolutely.
That it's not just a giant yellow void.
Yeah, no, like, yeah, it uses. Part of what made me really interested in it is that like it's an MMO where the environment actually matters all the time, and not just the environment, but like the actual geography, other than just like, is it in your way if you're trying to go from point A to point B? And like I had a great moment where the one place where I could get shelter from the sun was clinging to a cliffside. And so I was just clinging to a cliffside, hoping that clinging to a cliffside in the shade, watching as a Sardaukar ship flew over top and waiting to move until I could run in its shadow to the next like safe place. Because I was dangerously close to sunstroke and was really low on water. And like I was like, oh, that's a cool moment. I'm glad that I did that.
Well, I have bumped the other topics to next week because we went longer than I thought we were. Anybody have anything short that they want to say before we wrap things up?
Sounds like we're finished.
I guess if you are interested in PvP at all, Push is having an open beta period in Guild Wars 2. It is very steamrolly. Other than that, I guess we'll call it a show and see you next week. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
night.
See you.